May 5th, 2025. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2000 tick chart using NinjaTrader 8. Here's what the chart looked like today. The volume and volatility were pretty low. I suspect it's because the FOMC rate decision is coming on Wednesday. So usually the Monday and Tuesday before that rate decision is pretty quiet as traders are positioning themselves, just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. There were a few things I think announced by President Trump about trade and tariffs, but nothing to really move the market. The only economic data that came out was at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard, which is about right here. It was the ISM Services PMI and caused a big spike. I anticipate tomorrow is going to be also another slow day, similar to today. And then Wednesday is probably going to be very volatile because besides the FOMC rate decision, there's probably going to be a few other things that come out that, really move the market. I think I think Fed Chair Powell usually comes out and holds a press conference, adds some color, and he's at odds with, I think, President Trump, or President Trump's at odds with him. And so it's just most likely Trump might tweet some things, so it just could get very messy. I took a total of one trade today, and unfortunately it was a loser. And then after that, I kind of realized how slow things were, so I decided to not take any further trades. There was a second trade here that I thought was actually a decent setup. Other than that, there weren't too many setups or trades that I found, which is kind of expected on a slow day like today. Pre-market from Friday, it gapped down. It was a move down, two legs down, kind of chopped around sideways, hit this sideways consolidation and into the open. Right before the open, you could kind of tell the volume was already pretty low, lower than usual, which isn't really that surprising considering what day it is. You can find some second entries, but then not necessarily good setups, because like here's the first entry, a second entry. It's kind of made a triple bottom here. You could argue there's a multiple test here, but it feels like it's in the middle of nowhere. It's right at the open, no real setup here. So it moves, it has a small fail breakout up the top. There's a first entry long pullback. There's technically a second entry long bounce off of this potential bottom of the range, but it also looks like it's all part of one big orange leg down. So I didn't really think there was a safe trade there. This unfortunately created a doji, but I was thinking if this had created a more bearish candle, it might have been worth a trade. But even then, I'm kind of pushing back into the lows of this range. So overall, it just didn't feel super duper safe right here. So just kind of sit on hands and wait. And then the ISM PMI manufacturing came out right about here. So you don't really want to be entering any trades. And before it entered the 7 o'clock hour, you could tell how many candles were printing and the time, because these are taking a little bit longer than 1 minute to print, and and you're just kind of sitting on your hands waiting. So it flushes up, hits the midline of your pre-market highs and pre-market lows, but doesn't really mean anything because you can't really trust the midline yet. Moves down this orange down channel. It's currently just creates a first entry long, and also creates a new low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. This actually sets up my one trade, and it ended up being a loser. So I'm going to take you through my thought process. I see a new high here. It's a first entry long, pullback, second entry long. Did create a localized high. It came back down. I saw this and I thought in real time, this is also a higher low because I took it with the new low. First entry short, pullback, second entry short. Second entry short hasn't failed yet, and I'm looking for a failure. Break of this orange down channel had tested once, twice. There is not really a triple test, but I saw this was in a trading range or developing trading range, so I thought that was enough for a quick push up for a quick scalp. The problem was there is enough for 1 point scalp. I actually was targeting 2 points, which in hindsight was a mistake on a day like this where the ATR was very low. It's even lower now. Previously, it was really low. So pressing for a 2 point scalp is pushing really close and outside this trading range that I thought I was in. So I really definitely should have just gone for a 1 point scalp. Had I gone for the 1 point scalp, it would have been a profitable trade. But I went for a 2 point scalp, pushes up. My stop was below this candle. And as you can see, it actually moves down, moves past this by one tick and hits my stop. Then it reverses up and it would have been a profitable trade. So it felt like a trap. And also, considering the setup, I think I should have been a little bit less ambitious, just gone for the 1 point scalp, slow and steady, and not try for two on a day like this. It's a new low. First entry short, second entry short. For sure, there's a failure here. And unfortunately, it ended up being a losing trade. But then I looked back to the left and I said, wow, this is like about almost an hour or 45 minutes of trading, and there's not much going on. I just got to be extra careful. Prices then continue moving, chop sideways. It breaks out of my trading range. Looks like it makes two legs down. So it's new high. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long, second entry long. This is the signal bar to go long on. It's not the best. The follow through is a decent candle. Saw it as a first entry, second entry, and now I'm looking for higher low confirmation. Unfortunately, you don't really get a higher low. It just kind of runs away. By the time you get a higher low and it's confirmed, it's too far from the setup. Feels like the trade has run away. Plus, the break of the screen up channel already tested the high. So you're pressing by taking a trade long here for another push up. And it just didn't feel like the odds were with it. This sideways consolidation pushes up. I don't really have this yellow up channel established as a channel yet. I was playing with a number of different possibilities early on, something like this. Didn't quite look right. Eventually turned into this yellow up channel. Presses down, it's a first entry long pullback. Technically, I have a second entry long about to develop here, but the follow through and trigger bar aren't that great. Plus, as you can see, the open and closes are right in line. So it looks like there's some kind of tug of war happening here. EMA is starting to show support, but it's still not good enough. Presses and moves up. Pushes down. Okay, at this point, I do have this drawn as a trend line, and I put it as a loose channel because I don't really trust the high side. This low side I'm starting to have trust in. It's a new high. It's a first entry long pullback. Creates a second entry long. Creates a potential higher low. So I thought this might have been a possible trade because it does confirm the second entry long. And I'd wait for a break above this guy as well as above the EMA to enter a trade. So when it closes here, this follow through looks pretty good. So first entry, second entry, higher low confirmed here. The thing that was holding me back, although I kind of was mentally checked out for taking a trade because I knew how slow today was, the thing that was holding me back is I drew this trading range as such. So it was, in my view, hitting right at the low of this trading range. If you had it slightly different, maybe you had it lower here, then you could say it's breaking back in. But I actually had it higher here because it has more touch confirmations. Touches better here, touches better here. There's a small breakout here, kind of touches, confirms better. If you took it lower, then you're ignoring these two first touches. And I didn't really quite like that. So it left me kind of wondering, it's a little ambiguous. So I skipped it. Pushes up, it would have worked. Creates a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short. Second entry short looks like it's about to fail. I did have this drawn as a green up channel at the time. So I thought there's actually two key entry points. One touch, two touch, three touch. So that's one key entry point. Close above the EMA, closing inside this trading range. So this trade looked like it would have worked. Unfortunately, I didn't take it. Pushes up, breaks out to the other side. It looks like it's pushing up on this green up channel. It creates a new high, first entry long pullback. I thought this might have been a potential trade, but I just didn't like that it's floating above the EMA. It might be bouncing off the midline of this yellow up channel. Now this yellow up channel, I trust support, but not so much the top side because it only really has two touches. So it kind of brings into question whether this midline is reliable. Now you can see there was some kind of reaction previously, but I just wasn't super sure. So it's a first entry long, second entry long. I wanted technically to see a follow through and ideally a higher low with a maybe touch bounce off the EMA. So it is asking for a lot, but in consideration of this trade, it's a breakout. It could be moving back in. There's kind of things going forward, kind of things not going forward. So I just left it alone. You do get your higher low right here, but by then it feels it's too close to the highs. Prices continue moving. I'm going to chop sideways in this range. There's a break of this green, two attempts up. So I'm not sure if the up channel has played out or the bullish bias has played out because it looks like it's slowly, gradually creeping up here. And I'm thinking prices eventually want to close this gap from the open from Friday. So it pushes down, creates the first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long, no good signal bar. I can't really trust it. Looks like it's two legs down, touches this fourth confirmation. So I like that. I'm looking for a reason to go long. You have first entry short. Technically, you have a second entry short. It could fail, but it's not a good signal bar, so I don't have a trade set up. Plus, it's running into the EMA, pushes up. The follow through confirms first entry short, second entry short failure. But again, it closed below the EMA, closed outside of this range, which I think prices are kind of obeying. It's not the best though, because I also had it up here at one time. It looks like I needed this to close inside the range. So in this case, I'm looking for a higher low. This would have worked. Pushes up. You technically get a higher low here, but it's a red candle and it's already getting close to the top of this range. Pushes up and out, bounces. You only have a first entry long, count resets, kind of keeps moving up, hits this sideways consolidation. So it creates a visual first entry, pullback, second entry. I saw two measured legs up and it creates a lower high. So this is a possible trade because it had the pre-market touch rejection. Here it closed the gap for sure. So close the gap from Friday's price action. Close the gap. It could be coming back for relief pullback. So I was thinking there's possibility to come down, but the bias is still bullish. So you are counter trend trading. You have a very nice signal bar, but it closed just below the EMA. There's nothing that says it couldn't be first entry pullback, comes down, fills your short trade or my short entry, then pushes back up for like one attempt, two attempt to get back into this red. So I felt like the rejection off the pre-market high was stronger than this potential test of this, but I really couldn't justify it. Things didn't quite align up. So even though it's a good signal bar, I was then looking for a first entry pullback inside here, create a second entry long, then failure. So it pushes down. Okay, this is great. I'm looking for a second entry long, but it never shows up. So unfortunately, this would have been an entry, but I missed it, and I'm okay with that. Prices move down. It creates a higher low. So it's a new high. First entry long, pullback, second entry long. I also saw it as a potential just one leg down. So it could actually just be first entry here, pullback. This could actually be a second entry instead of a higher low. But the problem with this is, again, I'm running into a few conflicting pieces of information. This is a break of, so I'm not thinking it's going to test the highs of this red anymore because it pulled back too far. It almost hit the bottom of where this red leg started, but it could be pulling back and pushing back into this yellow. But it had a failed breakout or had a breakout on the low side. So is it going to go back down to test the bottom? I'm not 100% sure. It is a higher low. It is a good signal bar, but there's some, is it pushing back in or is it actually going to come back down and test the low of this green? It felt a little ambiguous, so I had to just kind of leave it alone. I called it an almost trade. In this case, because I definitely wasn't going to get a trade ready here, it flushes up. It felt like the trade has been made. I was too late, and I wasn't skilled enough to kind of interpret what was happening here. So it was better, in this case, for me to just sit out. And that's why I kind of called it an almost trade. It pushes back down. If you try to enter after this close and it pushes up, if you try to enter above, then you wouldn't have gotten filled. If you did manage to enter like on this on an engulfing, your stop would probably be down here. You'd survive this pullback and you'd be expecting a move up here to get you out. But as the EMA is drifting down, I wouldn't be very confident in that kind of setup. And then here, if I was in some kind of trade here, likely would have stopped me out. Prices move down. EMA is starting to show resistance. I'm thinking this yellow up channel might have played out. The strength of the pre-market high might be strong enough that this could actually be, even though, it's getting toward the end of the day, this could actually be just kind of trending sideways in a larger range. Pushing down, I saw as one leg pull back, potential second leg, but it's this consolidation sideways area, pushes up. So that's where I kind of drew, and I didn't color it in because I don't quite trust this channel, but it does touch once, twice, three times loosely. It's hard to argue that this is really anything, but it does touch once, twice. But so it didn't have a third touch confirmation on the low side. Now it does. So it's one touch, two touch, three touch. Whether you argue it's one or two, there's kind of three touches here. So it looks like it's moving down. But if you look at the time, it's 12:47 Pacific Standard, and the market closes at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard. So definitely not anything to try to take a trade on. Prices then kind of get spindly, and it just kind of moves into the close. So took a total of one trade. There weren't very many setups I could find or feel confident that it was been a good trade. I felt like I got trapped here. I'm okay. I mean, In hindsight, there's a few things I could have took into consideration, and probably the only other good setup was probably this failed second entry short. So I think tomorrow will be more of the same, probably slow price action, things might meander, and then Wednesday things could get probably crazy. Not to say that tomorrow couldn't be volatile as well if a bunch of uh, announcements by the White House comes out or another country comes out and says something, but all things considered, I think it'll be probably another slow day, so I need to be extra careful, be extra picky. So hopefully that was helpful.